Coming up to 33 minutes past the hour. Welcome back, everyone. A 7-day-long protest and occupation at North America's busiest border crossing is now over. A short time ago, officials in Detroit announced the Ambassador Bridge connecting Canada and the US is now fully reopened. Earlier on Saturday, Canadian police began a crackdown on protesters opposed to pandemic restrictions. Dozens were arrested, vehicles were seized, and CNN's Miguel Marquez was there.
The main protest that took place here in front of the Ambassador Bridge is cleared. Police here in Windsor say that they made 25 to 30 arrests. Those individuals charged with criminal mischief. A few cars were towed, but amazingly, nobody was injured. There weren't any sort of police officers or protesters that were injured throughout this entire ordeal. It was a lesson in patience on the part of police agencies that responded to these protests. Police now dealing with the ongoing issue of keeping that bridge open. That is their first priority and their ongoing priority now. It's a very long stretch, about a 3-mile stretch of surface streets from the bridge here in Canada to the main transportation corridor, Highway 401, that they will have to secure. That's what police are doing now, trying to figure out how they can secure that area, all those side streets that lead on to that surface street, and keep protesters from blocking traffic in that area and on the bridge itself in the days ahead. They also have to coordinate with the U.S. and the state of Michigan to make sure that all the pieces of this massive puzzle come back together. Back to you.
Miguel, thank you. Live to Toronto now, and Carmen Celestini with the Disinformation Project at Simon Fraser University. She spent years studying the narratives and the conspiracy theories of far-right groups in Canada. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so there have been other protests before against mandates and masks and lockdowns and don't tread on me. They've come and gone, but the success of the trucker protests and shutting down cities is being amplified by these cheerleaders, especially in right-wing television. Listen to this. Here's Fox News.
Canada's Freedom Convoy is still going strong tonight, and it's spreading all over the world. Is how long before protests like this come here?
Will we need our own trucker rally to end all of this insanity once and for all?
Is the trucker convoy coming to America?
Look at that, folks. The fight for freedom continues up in Canada.
Yeah, the fight for freedom. Is the appeal here the message of the protest, or is it the effectiveness of the strategy? The appeal that this is like a blueprint on how to shut down a city?
Well, it's really a social mobilization tool. So when we think about the word freedom, everyone has their own articulation of that word, and we have our own ideas that we want to articulate with that. And it's something that can resonate with you to help you motivate to go out and actually participate in convoys or protests such as this. This one is really long-standing because we have been in lockdown for so long, and everyone's social group has been on social media. And so the articulation of these ideas of freedom and lack of freedom because of the mandates here in Canada has really been resonating with people and being attached to conspiracy theories and ideas of like one world government and the Great Reset, which is really motivating people to be heroes to save Canada and to save our nation from their interpretation of tyranny.
It's interesting you bring up some of the motivation here for some of these protests, because I want you to listen to what some of the protests are saying about why they've occupied Ottawa. Here they are.
Ending all mandates. You know, it's been 2 years of this stuff. Evidently, it's not working. We all need to get back to normal.
Our freedom's at stake here, and they're treating us like something we're not. Basically, we're, just trying to do our part. We understand the economy's, come to a halt.
Okay, so let's start with those Canadian mandates that aren't working. The COVID death rate in Romania, which has low vaccination numbers and no real national response, no mandates, it's more than 3 times higher than Canada per 100,000 people. As for the economy at a standstill, Canadian government forecast moving into 2022, economic activity will likely remain robust. Above trend growth expected to lower the unemployment rate. Protests point into this thing. They live in a world where nothing is true and everything is possible.
Well, I think that it's really, first of all, they need civics lessons because the provincial governments actually denote what the mandates are for each one of our provinces. It's not federal, so each province has its own rules. But the approach to this is that when you're talking about ideas of freedom and wanting these mandates to end, I think everyone's frustrated at the mandates that we've been facing. But the truth is that it's linked to so many other things. So when we look at their social media or we watch the media on their video channels, we see that what they're articulating is that this is far greater than just mandates. It's really about tyranny and frustration and their fears. So when you think about conspiracy theories or you think about social mobilization such as this, it's really inherently someone feeling a sense of perpetual disaster, one thing going wrong after another. And they try to find a reason why this is happening. And so who is in control of this issue? And here it's being articulated by some populist governments, by protests that we've had every weekend in various cities against the mandates. It's being articulated that it is our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And it's not focused on the government as a whole, but the individual. And so there is this sense of what we call social heroism, that you know you're going to be ostracized, that you will be attacked, and your friends might stop talking to you, or you might lose your job. But the most important thing is to fight to save Canada from this tyranny. It's attached to ideas of populism and attached to ideas of patriotism and nationalism.
Well, we have the protesters, they've been cleared from the Ambassador Bridge, but there's still thousands of them, I believe, in downtown Ottawa, still jamming the streets there. So how does this end? I know there's been some kind of deal reportedly made between the protest leaders and the police, but let's see what happens there. But what do police
Well, they're
do?
actually
Drag them out?
attacking that.
Oh, okay.
Well, they're
then
actually the.
Yeah. I was going to say, how does it end? What does the end look like?
Well, that's something that's going to be questionable at this point. Now, the agreement that you're talking about, they're now declining that they ever made that agreement with the mayor. And so they're not saying they're going to do that. There's actually chatter on their social media to go back to Windsor and take over the bridge again with even more trucks. And so this is just going to continue. So what could happen is that the Prime Minister could enact emergency act rules here and declare martial law and try and end this with military and the police. They could have more populism at the end of this with the government people who are supporting them from the various parties and encouraging them to be a part of this, and the encouragement that they're getting from other countries who are jumping onto this, or it could fizzle out in a really bad way. Now, they do articulate that, they are peaceful, and generally it has been peaceful, but these ideas of freedom where they have hot tubs set up and saunas set up and bouncy castles set up, is that it's becoming something that is an occupation much more than it is a protest where they've moved in. And so it could end with tomorrow. I know that Justin Trudeau had a meeting this evening, and tomorrow a meeting with our First Minister. So there could be a declare of emergency federally tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I guess let's hope it ends peacefully. We'll see. It doesn't seem to be heading that way. It seems to be sort of more of a permanent situation. But Carmen Celestini, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.